Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the tank review on the AMX-50 Surbaissé. This tank is fantastic, I love to play it and I get really great results battle after battle. It's labeled as a battle rating 7.7 heavy tank, but it plays more like a medium tank, and that is good. The trait that you have to make for this awesome results is because you have kind of the same gun as the M103, but not a lot of its armor. However, you gain double the rate of fire because of a 19 round autoloading mechanism. So it's really great. Without further ado, let's go straight into it. I will compare it to the major opponents on the battlefield, also compare it to the AMX-50 1972. Give a full rundown on the statistics, show the strength and weaknesses, how to make it work, but also how to kind of counter it. So let's talk about the armor, and the armor is not really that strong. We have this middle bar here of this kind of peak nose design. Strongest point here on the hull, 120 millimeters. Angle goes between 10 and nearly 60 degrees, so you might bounce, might ricochet some rounds, especially on the edges, but don't count on it. The lower plate is easily penetratable by any normal tank gun that you can face, and your greatest weakness is APHE rounds, to which I will come in a moment. Then the upper hull is very well angled but thin, so it's not hash safe, and AP-FSDS, heat FS rounds might go through, but also sometimes just might bounce. The side and the rear and the top of the tank is really bad, 30 millimeters, 20 millimeters, 30 millimeters, so it's vulnerable to CAS, cannon CAS, rocket CAS, whatever, you name it. Even 20 millimeter rounds might penetrate the engine deck, which is a huge target. The turret front is a bit trickier. It is 90 millimeters, relatively flat, so where the turret ring is kind of, you can easily penetrate it with even a Panzer IV. Then this part here gets a bit angled to around about 130 millimeters. Then the top here is angled at around about 53 degrees. The effectiveness of the armor you can kind of imagine as the frontal hull armor of the T-44, the 85mm gun, so around about this. Where you should not hit with this tank, is this area here, where I guess there is an optic device for the gunner, or some additional 20mm gun, whatever, which is not implemented. This gun mantle here, around the 120mm gun, don't shoot here, you will just not penetrate and ricochet. The cupolas are small targets and just vulnerable to APHE, and also this overlap here, don't hit it. But everything else, this area here, this area here, and this area here, can be easily penetrated. So that is the armor. It's not very convincing, and in a nutshell you have some strong points, whereas other tanks have just weak spots. That's the big difference. So don't count on your armor. Even though I will show some kind of funny scenes in the background. Then we have the X-ray view, and that is a lot of ammunition, and those are big shells. It's single piece 120mm ammunition, 38 rounds in total in 2 clips. So the back of the turret has a 19 round clip, and there is always ammunition. So even if you take all 2 belts, the first ammunition that gets depleted round for round is from the bottom of the tank, but you still then have a long reload, to which I will come in a moment. So remove half your ammunition and the entire hull is free of ammunition. And even if you get penetrated with AP, APDS, AP-FSDS, heat, or even hash, the maximum damage that a tank can inflict from the front at you, if not firing an APHE round, is killing your driver and setting the engine on fire and making it black, aka destroyed. That's the maximum damage that an enemy tank can do. And even from the side, you know, some shells might just pass through here and deal no damage. Although there are 2 parts that still can somewhat get damaged. This horizontal aiming drive, or the turret ring basically, and this vertical aiming drive. This is a target that gets hit quite often. So, remove half the ammunition, and we have 4 crew members: driver, gunner, and commander, and yeah, the loader. But the tank is completely fully operational with just 2 crew members. You have no penalty. The reload of both the entire belt of 50 seconds and the reload between the shells with the autoloader is independent from the amount of crew and the crew skills, unlike on the AMX-50 1972. So 19 rounds is more than enough for one single game, I guess. If you need more than 19 rounds, either your aim is very much off or you had an extremely amazing game. So one further tactic that you might consider is, if you face a lot of enemies that fire APHE and you know that, and you have to engage them somewhat, you might just consider to show them the back, because the transmission and the engine might absorb all the shrapnels. Against AP rounds and APDS rounds, this tactic is not very nice, because they might just go through the entirety of the tank. So that's it with this internal view and the armor. Let's move on to the mobility. And as we can see in the comparison, the tank roughly has around about the same mobility as the M103 in terms of horsepower to ton ratio and kind of weight. And it exceeds the IS-4M, but it's not as good as dedicated medium tanks / main battle tanks such as the STB-1 or the AMX-50 1972. The top speed, however, is more in the region of the medium tanks, coming close to the STB-1 with 51 kilometers an hour top speed, and on flat terrain you kind of can meet that. The reverse speed, however, is again not very nice. In fact, it's bad, and you have no neutral steering, so this is not nice. So overall, you kind of rely also on the engine upgrades and mobility upgrades, especially the brake systems, so you actually can corner somewhat reliable. And that is kind of not very nice. However, you don't have to waste any kind of research points to upgrade your gun, except from the repair kit, fire extinguishing kit, and also the precise aim. However, that is necessary for every tank in the game. So you can relatively quickly also concentrate on the mobility upgrades. And that is kind of what holds this tank a little bit back, and so you kind of think yourself, well, I'm doing better with the M103, but that's not all. Now we talk about the firepower, and if the mobility does not really convince you, I cannot really blame you. However, when we talk about the firepower, we are talking here about the fantastic SA-46 gun that is practically the same as on the M103 with a caliber of 120 millimeters, so it's kind of average in terms of caliber. We have 38 rounds, which is a rather low amount of ammunition, but you should just take out half of it anyway, and that is mostly enough for a battle in any way, shape or form. Now it's getting interesting when we talk about the reload, because the best that you can get on an ace crew for the AMX-50 1972 is 7.5 seconds, and that is respectable. But you need a fully trained crew with the ace qualification, not just the expert, the ace qualification. All of the stats are of course for an ace crew to make it kind of comparable. However, for the AMX-50 Surbaissé, the reload is the same even if you get a completely new crew. So you have always the same or mostly a better reload than any other tank in this comparison. There is 0.8 seconds difference to the STB-1, but you're not as fast as a Leopard with 7.1. But there are not that many Leopards out there with an ace qualification, and you never should really trade shots. It's somewhat possible sometimes, as I've mentioned with the tricky armor, but you shouldn't rely on it. The turret rotation speed is absolutely fantastic for a heavy tank with 30 degrees per second. So you are out rotating a lot of the medium tanks as well. And you know, something like the mouse, it's not even fair to compare. Gun depression 8 degrees, that is solid, especially for an oscillating turret. However, the gun elevation is kind of poor with 14.0 degrees. However, you beat something like the STB-1 with just 9. So shooting down aircraft is challenging, I wouldn't recommend it. Your elevation speed is 4.5 degrees per second, which is nice, but you don't reach the level of an AMX-50, 1972 or STB-1 or other really fancy tanks, but you beat all the other heavy tanks in this respect. So gun handling is somewhat okay to nice, and I think the firepower is really outstanding. Let's move on to the ammunition. We have 2 ammunition types and both are stock rounds, and the first one is the Obus Explosif, and you know, that's not a weak HE shell, and 39mm of penetration, for example against Soviet tanks with shot trapping them, or with aiming for the driver's hedge or splashing down for the medium tanks, is a viable tactic, but I shouldn't recommend it, or I would not recommend it, because you cannot exchange then the belts, and if you meet something like a mouse or a Tiger II, you're done, because the deck armor on those tanks is stronger than what you might expect and you cannot one-shot them. It works against Soviet tanks if you have good aim, but also the muzzle velocity is not the highest. And so that leaves you just with one ammunition choice that is, you know, the very best in the first place, and that is the 120mm Obus de Rupture. And that's a simple solid shot. It's the best solid shot in the entirety of the game. 303mm of penetration, 125mm at 60 degrees of angling, or 30 degrees of angle of impact. And you keep a lot of the penetration, and even at 2000 meters you then still have the penetration like the long 88 at point blank range. So it's really good, but it also has its limits. However, the muzzle velocity for a solid shot is also really nice. 1067 meters for this 23 kilogram heavy warhead. And you know, before the patch, this was also the strongest shell in terms of spalling damage for solid shots. Now a lot of the shells around it got also buffed, but this still can deal a lot of damage, especially if you shoot from behind through the engine deck. The spalling, the shrapnels that it creates are just massive and destroys everything on its way. It blows up ammunition, it kills crew, it destroys internal components, gun breaches and turret rings, and tracks you in the first place as well, and so forth. It's absolutely devastating to fire this round, which is the huge contrast to the weak heat shell on the AMX-50 1972. Which you mostly beat also in reload with a bigger gun. So I think, yeah, the trade-off, for example, 20% less penetration, I gladly make. That's the message. And that's basically everything that you need to know about this tank. Now the last stat sheet, I promise, is about the ammunition comparison that you have. And you can see you are limited to just the HE shells that I wouldn't take, despite being good because of the long reload of 50 seconds. And you just should use the AP round. And how to use an AP round, the entire French tech tree has taught you so far how to do it, and what you should do and what you should not do. But you really should train it to one-shot your enemies because of the limited amount of ammunition. Now, for the overwhelming majority of battles and engagements that you will use this tank on, 19 rounds is more than enough. But if you have a really great battle, or you're really bad with aiming, you can actually run out of ammunition. And you need to fire the last round to deplete the entirety of the belt before you can initiate the reload in a cap circle, and then you need to further reload for 50 seconds. So at this point in time, if you run out of ammunition, bail out of the tank and use a plane or another tank. I mean, that sounds harsh, but this is a very rare case. Yeah, other tanks might have fancy ammunition like APDS, APCR, HeatFS, APFSDS, APHE, whatever. This AP round is everything that you need in the current state of the patch. When this gets nerfed, this tank will receive a big hit. But at the moment, as you can see in the background footage, it's absolutely amazing. So a complete tank review done in under 15 minutes. Yeah, not that easy to do with the Begleitpanzer. So let's talk about the gameplay in the background. And we enter into the commentary after the first ace, and we will see how it goes to you. You could see that I went very aggressively into this position. That is just a big exploit, let's put it that way. And I cleaned up some of the enemy team, and I did not really go out of this position. The enemy was completely unaware of me at first. Now the mouse is just a bit too slow in reaction, especially if you don't have a top crew in it. To make it turn, to make the turret turn, it's just taking too long. And you could see how devastating this gun is, even against the mouse. And if you are very good with your aim and the good situation, you can two-shot a mouse. The lower glazers and also the turret front, and he is done. However, if a mouse angles, you have a damn hard time. I mean, shot trapping is not a valid tactic in my opinion, and damaging the gun is a tactic, but you're wasting shots, you're not getting the kills. And so there is this chieftain. He has pinged that he's in trouble, but I don't see any opponent. And so always situation awareness is good. And there's the Jagdpanzer 50 that I noticed before as well. And this is a bad shot. I'm firing through the smoke and I'm not killing it. I just missed the ammunition and I need a second shot. And at this point in time, you know, I already have used a lot of my ammunition. So that's my 6th kill. That's a good result by itself and nothing to be ashamed of. And there is another Leopard that I don't know. Well, I have to say that gun sounds like, for example, the M13 guns and some others with without this mod, I guess, this Soundmod. And so maybe he thought he's alright. So I'm here just entering the cap and I try to go into position where I think I can return fire. So the only way for the enemy to really shoot at me is to go around those crossroads, and I have a good shooting and I still have some rounds left, you know. Furthermore, if they shoot my hull, they just set my engine on fire and I still have both my fire extinguishers. So this is the tactic that I'm talking about. However, in this case it will not pay off, and we will capture the zone, no doubt about that, but nobody is coming around this corner. And if somebody is going through the other side, he might just miss aim as well for the hull, thinking this is the back of the tank. So, you know, there are some thoughts for you. Now I'm looking at the map and I see that my team is fighting hard for C. I'm the only one at A. I don't want to get caught, and I want also to move to B. Now again, I do not have that much ammunition left. However, let's move on. I want to capture B, you know, additional capture points, more battle activity. It all plays together. How exactly it all works with the rewards, I have no idea. After so many 10,000s of games, I don't know. However, I know for sure that capture wins games. That you know, it brings not just big amounts of silver lines and research points. It also lets you play with some mind tricks. I know that the enemy's way, if he respawns or just happens to be in the vicinity, he will investigate B, and I have a big gun, and there is not that much in the German tech tree that can withstand my gun. As simple as that. Actually, that's 7 kills by now. Yeah, so I'm capturing the point and I'm observing, and this bunker is really nasty because there is no way the enemy will see me, and if he sees me I can easily shoot him. Panther, low turret rotation speed, he noticed me just a moment too late, straight through the frontal plate, killing all the crew because of this fantastic splash damage. That is the last kill. I have 2 rounds left. 2. out of 19. And I got 8 kills and 2 capture zones so far. So that's the result after just waiting for the remaining enemy team to die. 68,000 silver lions and 5,146 research points with a glorious survivor award for 8 kills and a lot of action in the game. And yeah, that is really good. I was first in the team with 2,412 research score points, sorry about this, and that was a good match. So that was the first battle in the tank in the day, so I thought I would share this battle with you. However, that is basically the tank review. You have seen everything, but I had one more battle that I want to share with you. So, and here we are on Abandoned Factory versus the Germans, and what you're about to see is an absolute stupid gameplay, hilariously broken, and I love it. So I get the first shot and I have no idea what it was. I shoot here, my crew is just slightly damaged, I have no idea what it is. I charge in, which I do not recommend in this tank, and flank a little bit. And you can see the only capture zone is in the south, and I just bypass it and go through the middle. And this is a Panther, and there is another tank that's coming straight at me, which I'm not quite sure if he has noticed me, but it doesn't really matter, does it? A bit of seal clubbing. And this Panther too, what is he going to do? Not much, I guess. And yeah, this is now a standoff, which is a bit stupid. And I pop my smoke, and he thinks that I will retreat, but I'm having none of this. I charge right into him, and he damages me, but kills just my driver. However, I fired also into the dirt. And now, what the hell was that? The Panther 2 just sets my engine on fire. The KPZ M47 is out of action due to the gun breach. I ignore him, kill the Panther, and yeah, pay attention after I extinguish the fire to this guy. And I'm aiming for the lower plate where there is all the nice ammunition, and I will not bounce. So that was completely stupid of an engagement. I cleared the enemy's attempt to flank, I mean 2 relatively mobile tanks in the shape of the Panther 2, and the KPZ M47 got destroyed. Was this luck? Yes, I'm down to 2 crew members, just have 1 fire extinguisher left, but I'm still fully combat efficient because of the autoloading mechanism. And all that I need are the 19 rounds that I have from the beginning of the match. I mean, when are you firing 19 rounds in your M103, your Maus, your IS-4 or something like this? Not that often. So I go straight in, my team has already cleared the capture zone, and I'm kind of, yeah, secured the flank for them in a heavy tank. So, go figure. Yeah, and this is also the time where we could go into spawn camping, and let's see how it goes. And that's a one-shot of a Panther F. Fantastic tank at 6.0. Not at this battle rating, mates. Not at this battle rating. Already 4 kills, just like that. So this gameplay just shows you what you can do with 1 clip. We are not done yet. There is a Coelion. There was a Coelion. And yeah, just like that, I got double strike. I think this is my 2nd double strike. And that must be 5 kills. And I'm positioning on the edge here. I could fire over it. The tank is relatively tall, so you can use different kind of situations. I'm not quite sure if you could even use this with the AMX-13 or 1972. And from this point onwards, the battle is already decided. It's over. It's completely over, in theory. However, there is this SPA, and I cannot shoot him. I cannot shoot him. I try anyways, but I fail miserably. And that was a waste of a shot. Just don't do that. So, and I see that in the center of the map, somewhere must be some German action left. So I ignore the seal clubbing on the captures, or the spawn point rather, and move to the middle of the map. And you can see the mobility is not bad, the ground resistance or the ground pressure on hard terrain is fairly okay. This is where you leave the M103 in the dust, despite having very similar horsepower to ton ratio. and size and overall this, but you just can move around. Again, this tank is now fully upgraded, and there is a second AMX-50 Surbaissé that wants to join the skillful killing around about their spawn point. But there was a Tiger too, I saw it in the kill messages. Where is he? Where is he? I must not get ambushed. One APHE round into my tank and I am dead, no doubt about this. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? No, he's not there. He is not there. This is where it gets really intense. I'm not quite sure if he knows that I'm around about this area, but A gets decaptured. There he is, and he has no chance whatsoever. One-shotting him. He has not lost any crew member, but I killed him anyway. With one shot. Even if I would not have hit the ammunition, I would have killed him. And this is the other AMX-50 Surbaissé, also kind of doing a nice run through the entirety of the map to also join me in capturing the capture zone. I was just about to kill this Panther too, but the other AMX-50 killed him, and we are capturing the point. So let's do something useful, you know, and not just killing the entirety of the enemy team. And we captured the zone. So let's move on, because all the kind of spawn campers have been killed or returned to capture the zone. And I just want to refill here the smoke launcher, so let's skip that. Now, because you just have 4 smoke launchers, you actually can do this in, you know, compared to other tanks that have like up to 12 smoke launchers, where it just takes too long. And you'd see how useful it is to charge through a smoke, you know, using it in an offensive role rather than a defensive role, where it's all very useful. I heard a Jagdtiger fire, and you can delete a Jagdtiger from the front easily. I want to have a clear line of sight to this enemy tank here. I just can't see him. He got engaged by another tank, and where is he? There he is. Straight through the angled side, killing the ammunition for my 7th kill, I guess. There is a Coelion, and that was a bad shot. I aimed a little bit too far to the right when I fired, but I damaged him a lot. So the second shell should do it. The reverse gear is relatively slow and stable, and that is another kill. And where is this Jagdtiger? At this point in time, I lost track of him. Another double strike. And I need to check out this section here, because somebody still could try to flank us, heroically but pointlessly. So, where is the enemy? Where is the enemy? You know, at this point in time, you think the match is done, but I've seen matches get thrown by overconfidence. Oh, there is the Jagdtiger. Tortoise, just driving by, you know. Just the German players are bad. And this guy took out a lot of ammunition, and that prevented me from one-shotting him. And this, well, oh my. And that was my ninth kill. And I'm relatively short on ammunition, and I got killed by an ME-262A1 U2, U4. But it was the end of the match anyway, so let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. 9 kills, 1 enemy assist, and 1 capture zone, a lot of damage done, 43,000 silver lines, over 4,000 research points, sadly no survivor award, second in team with a lot of score points, sadly not on the top because somebody decided to jump into an aircraft. There you can see the tank was not even fully upgraded, but mostly mobility and where it really matters. So yeah, that is the AMX-50 Surbaissé for you. Fantastic tank. I can highly recommend it, and it's another way to go up to, in the future, tier 6. So this tank is fun and fairly mobile, decently mobile. It's not like the AMX-50 or the Lorraine 40T, but it does the job and it is deeply satisfying. It's rewarding. I recommend it. I love it to play, and it's a blast to play. And you could see there were so many nice scenes Yeah, the AP shell is extremely strong, and this is what makes this tank work. That's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section if this has helped you. And yeah, we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.